Niall,
Very
what
good.
advice would you give to your younger self?
Yeah, probably lots as it turns out. So I suppose when it comes to relationships and love and all of that side of things, I'd probably describe myself as a slow learner. And I'm not sure how quick or not I've picked up the pace in the intervening years. But certainly I got lots of advice over the years, and I'm still unsure on this, to be quite honest with you. So I don't know if the advice was bad advice or it was just bad advice for me. I'm not quite sure. So basically what I'm trying to do here, I suppose, is if you could travel back in time and give your 21-year-old self a bit of advice, what bit of advice would you give to yourself that you would listen to? And is there perhaps a piece of advice that you needed at that stage, but you know with the benefit of hindsight that there's no way that you would have kind of listened to it at the time? So what I thought I'd do just to start it off is I'm going to go through 10 pieces of advice. Now these come in various different guises, so you don't necessarily hear them exactly as I'm going to describe them here, but I'm sure we've all heard a fair share of them over the years. So I suppose first what I'm looking for are, is this good advice? Is it bad advice? So at number 10, I've put just be yourself. So what do we think of that as advice? Good, bad, or indifferent?
I think it's very good, but obviously it's a hard thing to do at times, you know.
Okay, absolutely, yeah.
Don't be fake. Like, don't lose your friends. Don't focus on the one thing in your life. Don't forget your friends, your hobbies. So that's a great piece of advice, but it's probably one of the hardest to follow, you know.
Okay, and with that extent, you don't need to make too many changes to yourself or about yourself to be in a relationship. Is
Well, I
that
know.
one and the same thing?
Well, I know that now, but back then, like, you're probably more influenced by people, what they thought, weren't you? Outer
Yeah.
influences, like, you know.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, lads?
Yeah, I think when you're that young, it's easier to say it yourself or just be yourself when you're older, I guess. Yeah,
That's a fair point, yeah.
You've kind of got as a young person, it's kind of hard because I guess you have this kind of need to impress. So you kind of end up not being yourself and trying to be someone else maybe.
And you're probably still in the process of getting to know yourself, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
here's another one for you. And again, it comes in different guises, different words. You'll just know. So in other words, when you meet the right person, you'll just know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think I definitely someone who trusts my own gut feeling about things. Might be slow to get to that, but definitely I think you just know.
Yeah, no, I will say when I met Aisling, I could definitely see that was broadly accurate. The issue I would have with that, until you meet that person, it still sounds a bit kind of skeptical to me. So again, prior to meeting Aisling, if someone had said that to me, I would have been quite skeptical. Obviously, after having the experience, so to speak, I would be less skeptical. Another one for you here, folks. Opposites attract.
I would agree with that one, yeah, definitely.
Does that mean yourself and Suzanne are opposite in certain ways?
There's some big differences, yeah. I mean, yeah, but it seems to work most of the time, so I would agree with that one, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
Don't know to be as far left and far right as each other. I think we'd be maybe sort of somewhere in between, you know. I wouldn't say polar opposite. I don't know. Do I know of anybody even in a relationship that are a couple that are complete polar opposite?
Yeah, I would say myself and Aisling are fairly different in certain ways, but what I would say is we share a very similar set of values. So I think you can have differences, strengths and weaknesses, different interests, stuff like that. But if your values are particularly different, I think that's a problem.
There's a middle ground that's the same.
No, I think it's a really good point. I think it's your values that keep you together or make you come together, if you like. But I think it's important to have differences, otherwise it can be boring. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You probably want a bit of both, don't you? You want probably some commonalities and then some difference as well.
Yeah.
Almost
exactly.
like a balance between the two things. Sure, you've heard this one. Don't go to bed angry.
Yeah, that's very true.
Stay up and fight.
Don't go to bed angry. Have a fight outside the bedroom door, then go to bed. No, but
All right.
it's true. Yeah, it's very apparently it's not good for your health going to bed angry.
Difficult to do though, depending on the nature of the kind of argument or disagreement to begin with, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very good. It's very good advice, but it's very hard to execute.
Yeah, the other, and this is more of a general point than necessarily just a relationship point. The ability to have a conversation about something and work out a compromise, or it's dependent on two people being open to that in the first place. So if you've one of the two that's not open, it's not really going to happen. So in that sense, it can actually just go and make things worse. So I suppose sometimes there's a timing element, which I think I've gotten better with over the years, because I'm a big believer in kind of communication and hashing things out and so on and so forth. But I'm not sure my timing was always the best. I'd want to do that straight away, whereas I think sometimes there's a value in waiting a little while until things calm down, because then both people are more open to kind of hearing what each has to say, you know.
Yeah, totally agree.
Love conquers all.
God, that's the old one, isn't it?
Or all you need is love.
That's a good song. Yeah. I don't know. That's a bit corny for me, but anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's more about communication, isn't it?
I think it's a fantastic starting point, and it's probably a critical starting point, but you know, you do need more than that, as far as I'm concerned, to make a relationship work.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Niall. I think at the beginning, love conquers all.
Yeah.
As the further you go and the longer you go into a relationship, you need a bit more, if you know what I
Love-
mean.
Yeah.
Well, patience, lots of patience and communication, and become more open-minded.
Yeah, now what would we say? Because I've definitely been in the situation where, with due respect, I probably haven't had the love to begin with, and I've tried to make the relationship work. And in some cases, I'm sure so has the other person. And you could try hard to make it work,
Yeah.
but it probably ain't going to work.
Wasn't
So-
meant to be, yeah.
So in essence, while it's the starting point, as Sean has said, I do think it still needs to be there as the starting point.
Yeah, totally agree.
Communication is key.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely still learning that, yeah.
Yeah.
I should listen more than I used to now. So definitely.
Nothing was
yeah.
ever resolved without talking.
Yeah, and the other thing I notice is I think that while myself and Aisling are both fans of communication and we like to communicate, we're kind of different types of communicators, or we have different styles in terms of communication. I'm very direct, whereas she's a lot more subtle. So sometimes we have to tailor our styles, so to speak, to kind of meet the other person somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree totally. Suzanne's very direct as well, and sometimes I'm just waffling on, but I'm getting a bit better, but
Yeah.
eventually we come to some form of compromise. But yeah, as you said, it's yeah.
This one, I think this one applies to me for sure. Don't ignore red flags.
Yeah.
Back to the gut feeling.
Yeah.
I'm not so good at that.
Okay. Yeah. I would say I definitely wasn't so good at that. And the other thing is, even there's also amber flags, I would say, that are not just red flags. I wasn't particularly good at those either.
Yeah.
But sure, when you get a green
Go on.
flag, it's great. Go on.
Yeah.
Don't walk into the
Okay.
trap.
If it's meant to be, it'll be easy.
No. I don't
No, I
agree.
don't think so, no.
Would you agree with if it's meant to be, it'll be easier?
But it should be easier if it do have a bit of a click, yeah.
Yeah. So the way I would, again, I'm coming at it from a very kind of mathematical point of view. So in other words, if you're kind of 80% compatible, so to speak, to begin with, then there's
Yeah.
20% that you need to work on.
Yeah.
If you're only 40% compatible to begin with, then there's 60% that you need to work on.
Yeah.
Example 1 may be worth it. Example 2 is probably not going to be worth it because it's just too difficult a task for the two people involved. Okay. And I would have been a big believer in this, but I think it's got a qualification that perhaps I didn't see at that stage. Plenty more fish in the sea.
Plenty of sharks.
Yeah.
Yes, there is plenty more fish in the sea.
But you might still have to catch a lot of fish to find the fish that you like eating, Shawnee.
Oh my God, this is like, yeah.
So what I mean by that is,
Metaphor
if you look at the human population that is whatever 6-7 billion, whatever it is, I'm sure there's a significantly large group of people that are compatible to you. When you, in percentage terms of the overall population, I think it's minuscule, right? So, certainly from my point of view, I go back to Mike's point. So the reason why I kind of brought this up is I didn't listen to my gut or my instinct at the time, Mike. In lots of cases, I listened to other people's advice, albeit it was well-meaning. And in my case, had I listened to my instinct and my gut back in the day, it probably would have kept me more on the straight and narrow. I certainly would have got myself into less trouble and problems, so to speak. So I suppose looking back, you're 21 years old. 2 bits of advice I'm looking for. The first bit of advice is a piece of advice that would be valuable for you and you would be open to hearing back then. And the second bit of advice is a bit of advice that certainly you should have heard, or if you heard, it would have been very useful, but you know that there's no way you would have been open to hearing that advice back in the day. Starting with yourself, Mikey, talking to your 21-year-old self, what bit of advice did you need that you'd have been open to hearing? What bit of advice did you need that you wouldn't have been open to hearing?
You're too young to settle down.
Okay. That's the one you would have been open to hearing.
Would have been open to hearing.
Okay. And the bit that you needed, but you just wouldn't have listened,
is don't eat yellow snow.
That one for years now, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Hard to know, guys. Yeah. It's a bit like when
Okay.
you know, you know.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Fair point. Okay. Aaron.
Niall. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say advice that I wouldn't listen to.
Yeah. And that would have been valuable.
Well, just, be yourself, don't be fake, and try and maintain the friendships around you without
Okay.
trying to be somebody else. It's easy to say that now, but
Okay, yeah. And
Instead of
difficult for
early.
a 21-year-old to
take on board, yeah.
Yeah. And a bit of advice that perhaps would have been valuable, but you know your 21-year-old self wouldn't have been open to, wouldn't have listened to.
Enjoy the ride and don't be worrying about stupid stuff when
Okay.
you're at that age. So forgive the pun, but anyway, yeah.
And the ride meaning life here, yeah?
Ride meaning life, yeah, whatever we want to conjure up. Yeah.
Yeah, advice, I would say don't think about it too much. Just go with the flow.
Okay.
Just let it roll and see what happens.
Okay.
I think I just thought about things too much and how the future would look when I was that age. And then advice that I wouldn't have listened to, but you're a bit too young to settle down, mate. Enjoy life.
And don't drink.
And don't drink snake.
Or
blood.
7 or 10, yeah?
God, that's for
Okay.
another
Well,
podcast.
ironically, Mikey's advice, trust your gut, trust your instinct. I probably needed that advice and needed to hear that. And I think I probably would have been open to hearing it. I just needed someone to say it or say it in a way that I understand. And I think the bit of advice that I probably wouldn't have listened to, but in actual fact would have been very valuable to me at the time, is to have patience. Okay. So if someone could have communicated to me approximately, I appreciate they couldn't communicate with me specifically, that I would meet the person. Yes, I would be in my kind of early to mid 40s, so to speak, but she would arrive, albeit it'd take a while. I think that would have been very good advice for me, because I wouldn't have gotten myself into as much hassle perhaps as I did. But there's no way I would have listened to it.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our advice to our 21-year-old selves, Shawnee.
Very interesting. Very. I wonder. I mean, we would have been all sitting around sculling pints, giving each other advice back in the day. Would have been
Probably
great.
shite advice at that.
Yeah.
It's a pity podcasts weren't around then, because I would love
Yeah.
to listen back to what advice we gave ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot, Niall. That was super interesting, actually. Really super interesting.